Welcome to Hindu Infopedia. In the digital age, protests rarely erupt out of nowhere. They demand passion, yes, but also coordination, logistics, and resources. Nepal's recent Gen Z protests caught the world's attention with their scale and youthful energy. Streets filled with students, slogans against corruption echoed, and images went viral. But beneath the surface of this public anger lies another story. A story of financial flows, hidden networks, and questions about how movements sustain themselves. This is the money trail behind Nepal's Gen Z protests. Mainstream media highlighted the visible elements: social media bans, youthful crowds, anti-corruption chants. Yet investigators noted something subtler, what some call a digital hiss. These were faint signals of financial activity, suggesting backing more sophisticated than organic mobilization alone. The timing was striking. Protests surged just as authorities cracked down on encrypted apps like Telegram, citing money laundering and online fraud. Reports hinted that officials believed financial channels were being routed through these platforms. This raises the first critical question: were encrypted digital spaces simply for communication, or were they also pipelines of protest financing? One focal point of debate was Hami Nepal, a well-known NGO with humanitarian credentials. During the protests, it came under scrutiny for funding disclosures. The organization acknowledged receiving nearly 20 crore Nepalese rupees from major brands Coca-Cola, Viber, Gold Star, and Mulberry Hotels. While these contributions were officially meant for humanitarian efforts, the timing and visibility sparked suspicion. Could corporate social responsibility funding double as political support? The New York Times and other outlets observed how the lines blurred between charity and activism. This is not to discredit humanitarian work, but to ask, what happens when global brands inadvertently step into political spaces by funding civil society groups? During moments of upheaval, civil society organizations have always been vital for relief and advocacy. Yet their financial flows can also serve as indirect channels for activism. Local media noted unregistered transfers and unusually rapid mobilization for rallies. Social media discussions echoed rumors of sudden cash spikes, routed via NGOs, rather than political parties. This method offers plausible deniability while enabling substantial support. Nepal's relatively weak regulatory system made such routing easier. Here, the money trail suggests not a conspiracy, but a vulnerability. One where humanitarian networks risk being used, intentionally or otherwise, as platforms for political mobilization. Nepal's story cannot be separated from its geography. Sandwiched between India and China, it holds strategic value far beyond its borders. Official sources occasionally hinted at external support, but no hard evidence identified foreign governments or criminal actors. What remains is suspicion. When youth anger intersects with opaque funding, it opens space for geopolitical maneuvering. For India, instability next door is not just about Nepal's internal politics. It carries broader consequences for regional security and the delicate balance of South Asia. The digital footprint of these protests told a story in itself. Transparency markers included public corporate partnerships and open fundraising drives. But concealment indicators were just as visible. Websites quietly removing partnership details, encrypted channels being restricted, and funds routed through multiple organizations. Hami Nepal's case illustrates this duality. It initially showcased its partnerships proudly, but later pulled them offline during the height of protests. Was this a defensive move to avoid misinterpretation, or evidence of deeper unease about how funding might be perceived? The money trail here is not black and white. It is layered, shifting, and contested. Nepal's protests fit into a wider pattern: the weaponization of civil society. Funding appears to come from legitimate sources, activities stay within legal frameworks, causes remain morally justified. Yet hidden in this structure is room for manipulation. External actors gain plausible deniability, while narratives focus only on grievances. The Nepal case adds another dimension. When global brands become part of the money trail, it becomes harder to separate humanitarian goodwill from political impact. The lesson is not that protests are illegitimate or that civil society is suspect. It is that transparency matters. Financial clarity protects genuine dissent and democratic integrity. Without it, authentic anger risks being overshadowed by doubts of external influence. Strengthening oversight, building digital forensics, and ensuring NGO accountability are not about silencing movements. They are about preserving their credibility. Nepal's Gen Z protests revealed both the passion of a rising generation and the vulnerabilities of modern mobilization. Youth voices matter. Their grievances are real. But alongside them runs the money trail, complex, obscured, and essential to understanding how movements unfold. Following it does not delegitimize activism, it clarifies it. In South Asia's fragile environment, such clarity is indispensable. The money trail is not just Nepal's story, it is a regional one, demanding vigilance, transparency, and an honest reckoning with how protests are financed.